The dark night of the soul is a spiritual term that refers to a period of intense inner challenges, transformation, and spiritual awakening. The dark night of the soul is usually associated with the Spanish mystic and poet Saint John of the Cross, as he was writing a lot about his own experiences of the dark night. In this video, I will explore the two traditional stages of the dark night of the soul and also the four-stage model of the dark night of the soul. I will also share with you my own experience because I went through the dark night of the soul and it was incredibly challenging and profoundly confronting. However, I would not take it back because it was an immensely important and meaningful experience in my life. The two traditional dark night of the soul stages. Saint John of the Cross was a Spanish mystic and poet who lived in the mid to late 1500s. He is known for his contributions to the Christian mysticism and his writings about his own spiritual journeys, including, of course, his famous work, The Dark Night of the Soul. He is also considered one of the greatest mystics and spiritual writers of the Catholic Church. Saint John of the Cross described the two stages of the dark night of the soul in his book. And that is also how his work about the dark night of the soul got out there and got known. The dark night of the senses. The dark night of the senses is the first stage of the dark night of the soul experience. And in this stage, you may experience a sense of spiritual emptiness, feeling disconnected from life, higher power, God, and yourself. Of course, if you're not spiritual, then it feels like a disconnection from life and yourself. And this can be a very difficult and challenging experience, as you may feel confused and as if your faith is being tested, or you may experience the feelings of abandonment, feeling abandoned by life, by your peers, by yourself, but also by God, universe, or higher power. These intense feelings of confusion and loss of faith may also be triggered by events that are not quote-unquote spiritual. For example, you may enter the dark night of the senses after you are fired from your job, your personal relationship ends, or you are faced with a health crisis. So all of these can be a sort of starting point that catapults you into the dark night of the soul. The feeling of disconnection and thoughts such as, what's the point of anything? I feel so lost and confused in life, and also it feels as if life is testing me, can be the doorway to the first stage of the dark night of the soul. According to Saint John of the Cross, the dark night of the senses is necessary for spiritual growth. It helps you to let go of attachments to sensory experiences and also external gratification. I know it sounds very fancy, but it's quite difficult to do. And through this process, you detach, right? So this whole process, the first stage is the process of detachment. You can develop a deeper and more profound relationship with yourself, but also with life, higher power, universe, God, and also experience a more meaningful and fulfilling spiritual life. Common characteristics of the dark night of the senses include feelings of spiritual emptiness, a sense of isolation or separation from yourself, life, God, universe, higher power, others, a lack of motivation or enthusiasm about life or anything, and also an overall sense of confusion and disorientation. You may also experience feeling lost, hopelessness, and feeling like life is testing you. It is important to remember that this is a temporary stage. Even if it doesn't feel like it at the time, it's possible to move through this intense period and experience a deeper level of spiritual connection and fulfillment on the other side. I didn't think I was going to make it through the stage, but I did. But in the moment, it definitely didn't feel like it. This is one of the most uncomfortable and challenging experiences you may have to go through in life. I thought that I was losing my mind and it felt like everything in my life was falling apart. It was very disorienting. And The best way I can describe this stage is that it feels like a destruction of everything you've ever been and known. It feels like a demolishing of an old foundation and a way of being, so you can start building something new and very, very different. The dark night of the spirit. The dark night of the spirit is the second stage of the dark night of the soul experience. And in this stage, you may experience deeper spiritual transformation as you confront your deepest fears, doubts, and attachments. This can be a very intense and challenging experience, as you may feel like you are losing your sense of self or identity. That's also called ego death, as some of you may be familiar. And according to Saint John of the Cross, the dark night of the spirit is necessary for spiritual growth. It helps you to let go of your attachments to spiritual experiences and concepts. So through this process of detachment, you can develop a deeper and more profound relationship with yourself and also everything around you. Suppose that you didn't consider yourself a spiritual person before. In this stage, you may feel called to develop a spiritual practice or feel the connection to higher power, God, life, and the universe, something that you might not have felt before. In this stage, you will feel highly confronted as you investigate your deepest fears, doubts, and attachments. It is like looking in the mirror for the first time and seeing all parts of yourself, the light and the dark. This stage is like a purification process. You are stirring up all your deepest feelings, beliefs, values, and perspectives. And now is the time for all of this to come to the surface so you can look at it, investigate it, heal it, and then let go of it. Common characteristics of the dark night of the spirit include struggling with intense emotional and psychological pain, feeling like you're losing your sense of self or identity, questioning your beliefs and values, feeling a sense of disconnection from yourself, others, and life, experiencing a profound sense of transformation and growth. When you enter the dark night of the spirit stage, you can think of it as your acceptance or commitment to your purification process. So some people may get stuck in the first stage, feeling confused, hopeless, and lost, but not wanting to do anything about it. So going into the second stage is as if you are accepting a challenge that life presents you, and you are committing to getting to the other side. And if you do that, you will be rewarded with immense growth and transformation. It will feel like shedding of your old skin and feeling like you are awakening to a new you. The 4 stages of the dark night of the soul. The concept of the dark night of the soul can be understood in different ways, and different authors have described the stages of this experience differently. Other than the traditional 2 stages, a common interpretation of the dark night of the soul includes 4 stages. Stage 1, awakening. In the first stage, you begin to experience a sense of disconnection from your current life or spiritual path. You may feel a sense of restlessness or dissatisfaction with your current beliefs, habits, or practices. You may also feel lost, confused, disconnected, and begin questioning who you are, what you want, and what your life means. Essentially, all the big questions that you could ask yourself. You may also begin to feel restless, like there is something deeper or more meaningful to life than what you have previously believed or experienced. This awakening can be triggered by various events, such as a personal crisis, a significant loss, or a transformative spiritual experience. In this stage, you begin to question your values, your beliefs, and the meaning of your existence. The word of awakening sounds lovely, but the experience itself is actually very different because it's challenging and intense, to say the least. And it feels like your whole life is being turned upside down, and you also may experience a complete loss of control. That's what it felt like for me, for sure. Stage 2, purification. The second stage is about purification, and it involves letting go of old patterns, beliefs, and attachments that no longer serve you. You may experience inner turmoil or upheaval as you confront the parts of yourself that you have been hiding or denying up to this point. This process is the most profound look in the mirror you will ever have. It is confronting, it is very painful, and it is not for the faint of heart. You will have to let go of old patterns and ways of being or thinking that no longer serve you. If you stirred up all the gunk and dirt that has been sitting deep within you in the first stage, the purification process is all about cleaning out or healing all of this gunk. So you better get ready for some deep soul level cleaning, because purification, it ain't easy. And in my opinion, this is the most challenging stage of all. As I was going through my own dark night of the soul, I struggled so much that I realized I couldn't do it alone, or I would go crazy. Therefore, I started working with a therapist. And my therapist really supported me through the profound realizations and confrontations that I was having. I had to face my own shadows and a lot of negative beliefs and patterns and behaviors. It was very ugly and raw and difficult, and I was highly emotional and sensitive during this period, and I also thought that I was never going to get out of it. My therapist helped me realize that I wasn't batshit crazy, excuse my expression, but I was going through some deep internal cleaning and healing that was very, very needed. So I recommend that someone you really trust and who you can be honest and emotionally vulnerable with would support you in going through this stage, whether it is a partner, a friend, a family member, or a coach or a therapist. This stage in particular can be very challenging, and it is easy to get lost in the shadow side of ourselves. So having a trusted companion to help ground you and also make sure that you don't get stuck in this sort of sad, difficult, woe is me mindset is really, really important, because I got stuck in there for a little while. Stage 3, illumination. In the third stage, illumination, you will experience a new understanding or insight that helps you see your life in a new way. After the heaviness of the first two stages, this is where you will begin to have a sense of clarity, peace, or joy that comes from these new insights and understandings. Trust me when I say it feels like a breath of fresh air. So it feels like you made it to the other side. If you did, congratulations. Things are looking better. You are looking brighter, happier, and deeper. And this is what it felt like for me. Like I emerged from this dark and depressive cave. In this stage, you are exploring new ways of thinking and new ways of looking at life. And you may also ask yourself what you want the new you to look like and how you want to contribute to the world. You may also experience a spiritual ecstasy or intense mystical experiences during this stage. You may gain deeper understanding of the nature of reality, the interconnectedness of all things, and also the presence of the divine in all aspects of life, whether it is animals, it is nature, it is other people, world as a whole, or yourself. It's important to note that the stage of illumination can also be challenging, as you may struggle to integrate your new understandings with your previous beliefs and also previous ways of living or being. This stage can result in confusion or disorientation as you seek to make sense of your new experiences and your new insights. This stage for me felt like a push and pull between my old self, which I was trying to let go of, and also my new self, which I was striving to be. And at some point, I felt like I had two different people living inside of me, constantly having this push and pull. It felt a little bit torturous. It's not a joyous experience, but it's a really necessary one. We must first go through this resistance and commit to our new vision of ourselves and the life that we want to create. For me, this stage also felt like a kind of a test that life was giving me, and it was up to me to answer the question, what will I choose? Stage 4, union. This fourth and final stage of the dark night of the soul experience involves a sense of connection or union with yourself and a higher power, whether you call it God, the universe, nature, or something else. You may feel a deep sense of peace, love, and belonging as you work on integrating your new understandings and insights into your life. The feeling of oneness with all things is very often associated with this stage. You may feel one with life, with nature, with the universe, with other people, with yourself, and you may also begin to work on transcending your ego, which will lead you to experience deep purpose and direction in life. The dark night of the soul is not a linear experience. I want to mention a crucial point. Not everyone who experiences the dark night of the soul will go through all 4 stages, and the experience can vary widely from person to person. Also, the dark night of the soul is not a linear process itself, so you may move back and forth between stages or experience them in a different order. So for example, you may start with awareness and then move to purification, then back to awareness, then to illumination, then to union, and then back to purification. So you can really jump between the different stages. And I know that saying that this experience isn't linear is probably not what you want to hear, because then we don't know what we expect next. However, if you know the different stages and what they entail, you can better navigate them. So it's kind of like having a map, so you can orient yourself better in whatever stage you might find yourself. You may also be wondering, how long does the dark night of the soul last? And that is an excellent question. And once again, you may not like the answer that I'm going to give you. So the dark night of the soul doesn't have a specific timeline or a specific duration. It is not a fixed experience where we can say, okay, stage 1 lasts 4 weeks, stage 2 lasts 3 months, and so on. Once again, this is highly personal and varies from person to person. So one individual may navigate through all 4 stages within a couple of months, whereas another may navigate through all the 4 stages in a matter of a year. My own dark night of the soul experience lasted almost 3 years. It's long, but it was 3 years. And also, as I mentioned, each stage will last a different amount of time. So for me, my initial stage was awareness that lasted for a couple of months. Then the purification stage lasted for, my God, like a year and a half. And then I kept jumping from awareness to purification for a whole another year. So it's awareness a couple of months, purification for a year and a half, and then for the next year I was jumping between awareness and purification. And I was really working on letting go of certain emotions, a lot of different patterns, traumas, and behaviors. And this process made me aware of something new all over again. So then I would work on letting go of those experiences. I would let go of something, I would become more aware of something, and then I would go back into purification. And once again, I gained even more awareness about something in the purification process. And on and on and on and on, the cycle went on for a year. So finally, after 2.5 years of experiencing the deepest darkness I have ever felt, I began to emerge into stages 3 and 4. And right now it feels like I am experiencing the combination of illumination and union simultaneously. If you are currently in the dark night of the soul, I hope that this video sheds some light on which stage you are in and also how you can navigate it. I also want to mention that with the overview of all the other stages, you can better know what to expect. So look at the main signs of the different stages, what you may be experiencing, and this will help you determine where you might be. I've gone through the Dark Night of the Soul journey myself, which has been the most challenging and rewarding experience of my life. It is not for the faint of the heart, but it is definitely a doorway that opens for you to go through in this experience. And if you have that doorway and you go through it, it means that you are ready for it. It will be challenging and it will feel sometimes impossible to get to the other side, but please know that you are more than capable of navigating through this challenging experience and very transformational experience and period of your life. So keep looking in the mirror and questioning your thoughts, beliefs, your values. Keep feeling your feelings. And as I always say, become a researcher of your own self.